Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about tables in HTML. They're similar to lists, but a little bit more complicated. You see here the McLean Online website, and here it lists the courses that I'm offering this trimester. And this is a table, right? So common features of a table, just like a spreadsheet, is that you've got rows and you've got cells. And that's very much the way that that HTML looks at it. If you think about it from like an Excel standpoint or a spreadsheet standpoint, it thinks of rows and columns as separate things. Think of it a little more as rows that have cells in them, and those cells can line up or not quite line up in some cases. So I'm going to do a view page source on this and show you a little bit about what a table looks like before we dig in. So here's what we've got. So this is a little bit of a complicated table, more than is purely necessary, but it's got some key features. So the table element wraps around the whole thing. And then at its basic level, it could just have these things right here. TR represents a table row. TD represents table data. So that's where the actual information goes. And then these THs are a little different because they represent table headers. So by default, they're going to be maybe a little bolder than your TD cells. And notice that these all have the same number of cells in each row, and that makes them line up really nicely. Notice that this one up here has a TH of a call span equals 2. And the result of that is that it spreads across those cells. It merges those cells together, so it's only one. Right? And you can do that with a row span as well, so it goes down. I haven't done that here, but you can. This table also has two sections. The T head, which is separate. It's designed to be much like a header on a page to lay out the title, maybe some information about the page or about the table, I mean. And then the T body. You could also have a T foot below that, and that might show subtotal information or something like that. So let's head on over to Replit and get something started. So I'll create a new one in we'll let the whole tech group be it. Okay. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit because we don't need any script. And we don't need any script. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a header in and say table demonstration. And I'm going to change my title to match. All right. So we know that I need a table element. And let's imagine that I am maybe making a table of budgeted expenses for a robotics project or something maybe. So I could say, we'll do this as the basic, and then maybe we'll break it up into other information. I need a table row, and in that I want a table header, because I'm going to set up the headers for these. A table header that says what the date of the purchase is. I might want one for what the item is, TH, and the cost. We'll keep it relatively simple. I could go into quantity and so on, like I would in an actual budget spreadsheet, but this would get us started. And then I would come in here and I'd start making table data. So let's say I'm doing this on January 3rd, 2020. Let's say we're doing this for last year. And then I'd have, maybe I'm buying a some L bracket aluminum. And let's say I spend $125.87 on it. And then I need to remember to close that TR. So notice what the table has in it. Its children are table rows at its basic level. And then the table rows have THs or TDs. That's the basic of it. And then it's one of the easiest ways to fill one of these out is to use copy and paste. So, and then I can just make my little changes, and I say 1.5, not the 35th. Maybe we bought some bolts, and maybe we spent 35.87. That'll be simple. Let's say 92, so it's clear that it's different. And on the 12th, let's say we bought some wheels. We need some wheels on a robot. And let's say we bought 4 of them. Let's say we spend $24.99 a piece. I'm going to mess this up. $99.96, something like that. Let's go ahead and run it and see what we get. There we go. And this starts to lay out some of the styling of it. Notice my headers there. And the default style is you've got the THs that are centered and bold, and the table datas that are left aligned, and there's a little bit of space between them. So that's the basics. I could also do a T head to set up that piece. I'll have a table row that's going to have one TH that's call span equals 3. I want to remember to quote my attributes, of course, and it's going to say bill of materials. Okay, and then I need to remember to close off that TR. I don't like the way the tabbing is on this. Now that I've got that T head, I'm going to close that T head right there, and I'm going to tab these in. And then if I've got a T head, I probably want to have the body, and that's going to take all of those actual data elements. And then let's go ahead and drop in a T foot as well. But let's stop and look at what that does for us. There we go. So we've got the bill of materials that spreads out across all those, and then otherwise it looks basically the same. Some things that I can do with that, though. I can say that my table, I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with the table there, but I can say that the T head should have a background color of black and a color of white. So now we've got those nice and offset. I don't really like the space there, but we've got those in reverse. And I can say the T body should have a background color of, let's go with blanched almond. Okay, so those things are starting to go there, and you see the margin between these things. Let's start talking about our table borders. I'm going to say 1 pixel solid black. And I get one border around the whole thing. Okay, that's fine. I might want to, strengthen it up, make it outset. Oh, and we're going to fail for a moment here. Looks like that was a brief interruption. So as I was saying, we can make that outset and make that strengthened so that it really offsets everything. I can do things with paddings in there and give a little bit of more space from the border to the actual table. If I come down here and I can make my table rows have border of 1 pixel solid. Let's make them red to make it clear what's going on there. And I don't get anything. Let's look at our table datas. Now we start to see some things. So the table data's getting these borders here, And I can, this is a trick that I haven't shown you yet. You can do a comma and then another one and style two things at once. So now we get it around each one separately, and there's a margin between them. So how do we fix that? I don't really want this double, but I do want a border around every element. So what I want to do is make border collapse to be collapse, and this is on the table level. And you'll see that that makes it so that those collapse together, and it just becomes one nice thing, right? I might not want it to be red. I might want to make those things have a padding of about 2 pixels. Notice that when I did that, I lost my padding in the table, so there are some weird ways that things behave. There we go. So I've got a little more space there. These are working out, and that's pretty good, right? So that's the basics of styling up a table. I could also show you how to do the table row piece. So let me come back here, and the row span piece. So I can add onto this first one. I'm going to add one that's going to be component. That is, which part of the robot is this for? And I'm going to say that the first 2 items are going to be for the drivetrain. Row span equals 2. Drivetrain. And then that's 2. And then these other 2 are going to be for collector. Okay, so you see that that now makes this one take up both those rows, and this one takes up both those rows. And I could adjust that as I needed to. Notice, however, that this one no longer is the right width. We got this very strange thing happening here because I added a column. So I need to change that to 4. And that gets that there. So that gets you a lot of the way in working with tables. Let's go ahead and add a foot to it. And I'm going to say TR. I'm going to have this be 1. I'll do it like this. I'm going to say total 4. And then I'm going to say totals. And let's make that a TH instead, because this should act like a heading. And then I'm going to add another row to that foot, and it's going to have a TD of nothing. I'm not going to put anything in the component one. And then I'm going to say 2020 to 2021. There are 4 items. And then the total cost, which will be, let's round it out, 125 and 35 is 160, and 125 is 260, 285, 385, let's say 386.23. It's not the correct number. That's me just trying to do a little math in my head. So that's kind of how that came out. I haven't closed this TR, and I haven't closed my T foot. So that will help that out a little bit, but we'll see that we lose that. I don't really like that totals row, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to have this say totals. I'm going to make it a TH. Totals. I'm going to make this one empty. No, that's right. 2021 4. Yeah, that's maybe okay. Totals. Much better. And then on that T foot, I'm just kind of playing now at this point, to be honest. I'm going to make a border top of 4 pixels solid red. There we go. That gives us a nice solid line there. above the top, and then we get the white, so that gives that. I have one more trick that I want to show you. And this goes a little bit further down our CSS path. So we can use a very special pseudo class. Remember we did the hover, :hover for a pseudo class? There is another one. Let's try this. I'm going to remove the background color on the T body. Maybe we won't have to. Let's say we go tr, background color is going to be aqua. And I run that. And notice that that takes over all of those pieces, right? And it's not very helpful. So I can make sure that it's only in the T body that happens by saying that it's in the T body. So now those are aqua. But that doesn't really help us read it more. But I can do alternating things by I can say T body space tr : nth child. And you can put a number here. If I say to background color is going to be blue. And I run it. Notice that the second one now is blue, right? And this doesn't get it because it's part of the first row, right? If I come back here, here's the first row in the body, and that's where the drive train is. So that, even though it spans over to the second row, it doesn't get that second row styling because it's in the first row in the HTML. So there's another thing that I can do though, and I can say even or odd. And then I'm not going to make this blue because that's going to be not so good. Let's go. I really want it kind of in this zone. Okay. And now I get these alternating lines. And as you know, having a table with alternating shading, I don't like the aqua anymore, having alternating shading makes things really easy to read, especially if there's a long row. So this ability to do an nth child even or nth child odd lets us have that alternating effect with almost no effort at all. This thing could be 110 rows long, and it'd happen automatically. We could change it to and add 3 rows, and it'd just fix it automatically. It makes it super simple to make some really dramatic improvement on the table. So play around with the table, try to get something like this working, and then there'll be an assignment posted for you to dig in and play with tables on your own. Thanks.